So I'll be using the concept of representation in Frankenstein. So my research question is, how does Mary Shelley explores the use of romantic and gothic elements to represent the central themes in Frankenstein? So in chapter 2, young Victor discovers this huge large thunderstorm, and the lightning now suddenly demolishes and destroys this oak tree and now results into this blasted stump. So now this quote here evokes the use of the electrical imagery to reveal both of the scientific aspects of the electrical storm and the beauty of the sublime. We notice the semantic field of the sublime, where he describes the supernatural phenomena of the thunderstorm that starts with something really frightful to now something heavenly and delightful. And so the sublime foreshadows and parallels the outcomes of the victor's creation. We also notice that the use of the oak also uses sublime, where it talks about the old and now turning into a beautiful and dazzling, and is also used as a romantic symbol of nature, which can be inferred as something with growth and stability related. So this leads to how the sublime and the supernatural are used to highlight the theme of the uncertainty and the dangers of surrounding an unfounded scientific progress. So here in Frankenstein, we notice that the recklessness of the pursuit of scientific discovery leads to this destruction, the chaos, and the tragedy, and also the despair. Here, the second point I want to note is that the use of the Gothic elements evokes terror and fear, which leads to the theme of isolation and appearance versus reality. So here in this particular quote, we notice that the word pathetic fallacy is used for dreary nights. Now, pathetic fallacy evokes the mood to enhance the apprehension of the readers. The word dreary insinuates the misery and the dull nature of that night. In addition, the Gothic mood is now followed along with the use of the alliteration of the letter A. The anxiety almost amounted to agony. These are all drag the idea of his loneliness and isolation. We also note that the use of the symbol of instruments symbolizes as a way of a border against the external world, where he becomes secluded and isolated to his own self, where he's surrounded with his life of instruments and now segregating and separating himself from the reality. And therefore, it could also represent as a romantic symbol, as where he cherishes the instruments and revolves his life all around with it. When we're explaining about the appearances versus reality, we notice that there's a literary device of the endopolosis, which is used when the last word becomes the beginning of the next phrase. So the word beautiful, and then he states a beautiful again. This emphasizes the terror and the fear that Victor has. Now he sees the contrasting difference of what he expected that the Frankenstein, that the monster would be. Then we also note that the color yellow is used multiple times in this text. This creates an allusion to the neonatal physiological jaundice, which is actually a condition that happens in common in newborns and babies. This can make an illusion where there could be an underlying problem that exists at the birth of the monster, which can induce the fear for readers who are unaware or are aware of the severity of the disease. So as a result, both the Gothic setting and the paranormal creature are Gothic elements that evoke fear and terror. So we also want to note the duality of the nature and the connection of the nature theme. So here it creates glorifying dictions as highlighted above here, which creates positive connotations to describe the romantic nature's atmosphere in this quote. There's also the use of sublimes, which is the repetitive use of the word S's like sensation, serene, and this creates an alliteration, and that alliteration elongulates the picturesque image that is depicted in this scene. As a result, there's also a contrast to it here, and that comes in the next few pages, where we note that now the sky is now something beautiful yet terrific. And so now this creates this Gothic sublime. There's also the use of a metaphorical device of the noble war. And so the once serene sky now turns into a noble war, juxtaposes each other, and indicates the nature's ability to change. So these elements represent the natures of duality to control, to create, and also to destroy. And thus this enhances enhances the sublime's nature and the ability to influence the mood. So, in conclusion, ultimately, Mary Shelley still utilizes the both of the Gothic and Romantic elements through the use of the sublime, vivid imagery, and allusions to effectively convey her key themes in the novel.